friends! Today I'm going to show you a little bit of the basics of portraiture, drawing faces. This video will be helpful if you're doing a self-portrait, a portrait of someone else, or just wanting to draw faces realistically. We're going to go over some of the basics, but of course, to make a face really look like someone in particular, you're really going to have to look carefully at the different sizes and shapes of their features. I recommend using pencil for this because sometimes it's helpful. You can just erase and adjust as you go, but any drawing tool will work. Paper, any kind of paper will work.
Oh, Miss Kelly, we doing sloth portraits?
We'll do sloth portraits next time. We will start with kind of an upside down U curve at the top of our page. That's going to be the very top of the head. And it's a little bit wider than the U we're gonna kind of put in the bottom third. This will create the chin. Now, of course, if you're actually trying to represent someone, the shapes that we're drawing will all be slightly different based on what that person actually looks like, or if it's a self-portrait, what you actually look like. This is just the basics of drawing a face and putting the features about where they sit on a human face and at about the size and proportion that they would be. But of course, everything will be slightly different depending on who you're representing. So we're gonna draw the shape of the head that is basically an egg shape. So now that I've got this curve, I connect it, and my style of drawing is short little sketchy lines instead of one solid contour line. It's your style, will be whatever it is, but we're going for kind of this egg shape for the head. And from here, we're gonna do 2 lines down to create the neck. Most necks start from about here at the jaw and they come down not too far. So I'm gonna do a line here and a line about here, and then I give shoulders. I often right away put some kind of neckline on the face or on the portrait, and that could always change depending on what they're wearing, but I just kind of put that in there right away. The next thing you're gonna do is take your pencil and do a light line straight across the middle of the face. Very light. Straight across, then you're gonna divide that space in half and draw a line across there. The first line we drew is where the eyes will sit. This line is where the bottom of the nose will fall. And we're gonna do one more line across the middle of that lower section of the face, and that is where the lips will fall. Next step that I like to do is give myself a little boundary here and here. This is where the nose will be, and this is the top of the nose right here. Next thing I try to do is put in the eyes. And the eyes are so important. Really look at your subject. If it's you and you're looking in the mirror, or if you're drawing from a picture, eyes have distinctive shapes. I'm gonna do a really basic eye, which will be an oval with pointy ends. So I do a little hill and a little hill there, and I try to make them match. I complete that oval by putting a bottom curve and a bottom curve. The next thing you'll want to look for in your subject or whomever you're drawing is if you can see their eyelids. You can add that line in there, that fold of skin. Of course, you can add eyelashes, and often we kind of just see the eyelashes at the ends of the eyes. We don't really see the inner ones so much if we're looking at the person straight on. I'm going to add those in lightly. Now I'm going to draw kind of a pretty big circle that goes from top to bottom to represent the iris, and that would be the colored part. Like if you have brown eyes, this would be brown. If you have green eyes, it would be green. And at the center, but a little bit higher, I'm gonna put a filled in circle to represent the pupil. Like that black circle changes size depending on how much light is in the space we're in. So I'm gonna put that there. And I'm just gonna shade that in, but really this part that I'm shading right now would be green for some people, blue for some people, gray for some people, hazel, dark brown, light brown. Now for the nose. The bridge of the nose would come down here, and the bottom, the nostrils, would be on this line. Now this is how I kind of lay in a basic nose. I do a C here and a backward C right next to it. And these two C shapes line up kind of with the corners of the eye or with the centers of the eye. And then depending on your person's nose, you may see the nostrils really clearly and draw them in as two ovals, you may not really see the nostrils at all, and you just see the bottom of their nose. Noses are all different shapes and sizes, but for the most part, I give a side nostril or a curve there and a curve there to represent the size of the nose, and then kind of this dip down, and some people have a nose that dips quite far down, some a little flatter. Underneath the nose, I have this on my face, so I usually add it just because it's true for me. There's a little dip before you hit the lips. Sometimes I add a line here and a line here to kind of show where the nose is. And of course, don't forget eyebrows. That can give expression to the face, depending on how you angle them. And often, people just draw eyebrows as a single line across, but they're really made up of a lot of little hairs that grow from your face. Before we get to the mouth, we're gonna add the ears. Now the ears go from kind of where that eye line ended to where that nose line was. And for one ear, kind of the ear on the right side, I kind of start with a curve that comes in, and then there's the lobe, and it connects. I do the same thing on the other side, but kind of flipped. I start with an up curve, come closer to the face, and then end it right there. That's the earlobe, and if they have earrings, they would go here. Sometimes I try to draw a little shape or a little shadow in here, and that's the fold of skin in an ear. But ears are a little bit interesting, and some people, when you're looking at them straight on, you can really see their ear. Some ears are really up against the head and you don't see them much. At this point, you can always, depending on who you're drawing, adjust. If they have kind of cheeks that come out a little bit further, do that. Sometimes the chin has a little cleft in it, a little dip right here, and you could add that. Sometimes chins are very pointy, sometimes they're very narrow and or they're really flat. So all of those adjustments can be made. It's especially easy to do when you're using pencil. Now for the mouth. I'm going to demonstrate on this face lips that are closed, and I've got a few other heads drawn in my sketchbook ready to go where I can demonstrate a different kind of mouth, and I'm going to demonstrate a couple different hairstyles next. I start for closed lips with a U, and then an angle down, and an angle down. Now, the shape of the lips will depend on a couple things. What expression they're making and how thick their lips are. Maybe they have thin lips. Maybe the upper lip is thinner and the lower lip is a little bit thicker. So this is the top of the top lip. At this point, I kind of put a little line here, and then dependent upon if they're smiling or not, you might curve up at the sides. It might be a totally flat line if they have a pretty neutral or even serious expression. So there's the top lip, and to complete the bottom lip, I just do a gentle curve that connects corner to corner. From here, we'll do hair in a moment, but I want to demonstrate a mouth that is open with teeth showing. I start kind of the same way, and when someone's smiling, you often will see that their eyes might get a little bit narrower and smile lines might show, like here and here, and even here and here. They're like wrinkles or folds of skin that come and go as our face changes expression. So I'm going to start with that upside down U, a line down and a line down, and I'm going to give this top lip now a straighter line, and then I'm going to give myself a space here. This is not the bottom lip. This is actually where the teeth will show, and then I add on the bottom lip. So now I've got a space here. Sometimes in some representations you can leave that open, but if you want to show teeth, often when you smile and try and kind of practice this looking in the mirror, you really just see your top row of teeth, sometimes a little bit of the bottom row of teeth. The front two teeth are the biggest, and so I put a line in the middle, and I do those front two teeth. And of course, some of my younger friends might be missing teeth, which is kind of cool. So just kind of, if you're trying to be accurate, if you're doing a self-portrait, you might only be drawing a couple of these teeth. So there's the front four, and then as the teeth, as you move into the mouth, they get smaller, or you see them less. And then the bottom row of teeth, I'm just kind of putting in some lines to show that they're there, but you don't really see them. And of course, you can put lines here and here if they're in the face, or dimples if the person has those too. Now for hair, I'm going to demonstrate a bunch of different hairstyles on the right and left hand sides of the head. So if I'm doing kind of short hairstyle, there's a lot that can happen. There may be a piece of hair right in front of the ear here called a sideburn. Even people with long hair can have that showing. So that little piece of hair can come. Now there may be no hair showing below the ear if it's really short, But sometimes someone can have short hair, but there is a little bit of hair showing down here. So I can add that. Now, you have to kind of look and see where their hairline falls, how much of their forehead is exposed and how much is covered by hair. If you have bangs, a lot of your forehead would be covered by hair. But I'm gonna do on this half of the head, kind of, someone just got out of bed and they hadn't yet brushed their hair. So I'm just drawing kind of a shape here. And then I like to put a lot of lines to show that the hair is growing from the scalp downward, and maybe some is even sticking up a little bit because they haven't yet combed their hair. But if I stopped here, it looks a little bit odd. I'm gonna bring the hairline down a little bit more. Maybe it covers a bit more of the top of their head coming onto the forehead. Sometimes hair can even cover the ear. And I'll go right over the ear a little bit. There's some hair sticking up. On this side, I'll demonstrate another kind of hair, hairstyle a little bit longer. Sometimes hair, it comes down from the center and it can be tucked behind the ear. I'm doing kind of a straight hairstyle. I'll do curly hair and braided hair in a moment. I'm going to keep drawing some lines to show the strands of hair. And sometimes a strand can escape and it might be falling in front of your face and you want to just tuck it behind. Now at this point, the hair is tucked here. It might come long over the shoulder and fall right across the shoulder, kind of like this. It may be pulled back into a ponytail that's totally behind your head. It may be in a pigtail, and if you've got that going, the hair is gathered here. There's a bunch of different ways you can represent that. You can put like kind of the ponytail holder here, and then the hair coming, if you've got a kind of a high ponytail or a high pigtail, and it's coming off the side, kind of like that, and that would be a color, depending on what the ponytail holder elastic was, and that can be hair coming down like that. And of course the hair can be wavy, and if the hair is wavy, I often do a lot of squiggles next to each other. Some are dark, some are light, to get the texture going of wavy hair. I'm going to go back to this head and demonstrate another couple styles. If the person has braided hair, you can start it. Now there's a lot of different ways to do it. I'm gonna say this is the part in their hair. Sometimes the hair is in braids that go along the scalp quite close. And if I'm gonna try to draw that kind of hair, I might do a series of C's that kind of connect to each other. And I go following the scalp all the way down, and I'm gonna do another row, following parallel to that first braid. And this will look more like hair once it's colored in. And then I'm gonna do another row, paralleling the first two. And from here, maybe it's tucked, but maybe the braids continue and there's several. And often, sometimes it could be tied with an elastic with a little bit of hair at the bottom. There might be a couple of beads at the end, and these you can add color to, and there's the rubber band or whatever. And you can do another one. And if there was just, sometimes the hair is all gathered in one big braid, I do the same thing, just bigger. Maybe the hair, yeah, there's the ear. I'll do a series of kind of these C shapes. Gather it here, hair at the end. If someone's wearing their hair in a bun, it can be right on top of their head, but often a bun is a little bit lower down, and you just kind of see when you're looking right at the person, the top of the gathered hair. And so when I draw a bun, I don't put a circle right on top. I do kind of a semicircle to show that the bun is a little bit lower down on their head. On this side, we'll do some, maybe the person has kind of very thick hair and it comes out away from their ear. I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna put, maybe it ends in curls. And sometimes the hair doesn't necessarily have to come in front of their clothing on their shoulders. It can just be behind their shoulder, so you wouldn't really see it past their shirt. It goes behind their shirt instead. But this is another style of hair one might want to represent. But definitely have fun with it, because there's so many things that you'll learn as you draw.